Hello, my name is Judy, and this is probably part 2, the second video I have. And this video is in a rebuttal against Ben Shapiro and his opinion and perception and evaluation of black people and Black Lives Matter. And let me preface this first by saying that I absolutely believe that Ben Shapiro has the First Amendment right to free speech. He has the right to his own opinions and his own perceptions, but I believe that his perceptions and his description of black people, the black community, and the Black Lives Matter is very distorted and inaccurate. So it deserves a rebuttal, because we have to rebut what Ben Shapiro has said about the black community, which is mostly very negative and outrageous comments. And he pretty much cherry picked some information to make black people look like they're pretty much complaining, and they're whining, and they're thugs. And it's pretty ironic that he says there's no racism, but he doesn't understand that he has an unconscious bias. He's saying racist things as he's saying there is no racism. He wants proof and evidence. Well, yeah, there's overwhelming evidence of racism in America. Overwhelming evidence that black Americans are treated unfairly and are not treated equally. And if you would did just a little bit of research, you would have found all the evidence out. So I would say first to Ben Shapiro, if you really want to know how black people feel, you should have a dialogue with black people. You should have a meeting or a forum or a meeting with black people and have a discussion with them and ask them, how do you guys feel you're treated in America? You would get a much better understanding. Do you have any black friends, Ben Shapiro? I doubt you have any black friends, because if you had black friends, you would care more about what's happening to black people and the black community. Have you ever talked to a black person? Maybe you've never associated with a black person. This is really important, because if you know black people, then you would not have those very distorted and outrageous comments that you made about black people and the black community and about Black Lives Matter. Yeah, you make it sound like they're whining, they complain tonight, they're rioting and uprising. Uprising against what? And they're breaking and looting, and they're acting like thugs. If they could act like human beings, those are all very, very racist comments. You don't even realize you're saying it. I know you've heard of this unconscious bias. What it is that, okay, so 95% of our thoughts are unconscious, meaning that we don't consciously think about it. We just react. It's somewhere when we were born up to when we were raised, we were taught about a race, and I grew up with black people, so I don't have that racial, that unconscious bias. So, because I had black family members, and Mexican family members, and Asian family members, so I don't have unconscious bias. But Ben Shapiro, you have a very strong unconscious bias. 95% of our thoughts are unconscious, and we don't think about it. We just we see a stimuli, and then it's like a recording in our head. It just happens because somewhere when we were growing up, we were taught something about about black people that we unconsciously downloaded in our unconscious mind, and consciously. But I find it very ironic that he says there's really no racism and no evidence of racism. Actually, there's overwhelming evidence of racism. So much evidence that I had to stop looking, because it would have took me like a couple of weeks to go through all the evidence. The evidence is so overwhelming, I can't even explain it all. I can just give you a minuscule amount of evidence I have so far, just to rebuttal what Ben Shapiro said about the black community. So Ben Shapiro said, I'm offended by the language of uprising applied to people who are breaking into other black people's stores and looting them. This is a lack of values. People who are destroying private property, destroying cop cars, and an uprising against what? Okay, this I think you might be talking about the Ferguson riots. This it was not all black people, Ben. Did you not see the other white and Latino people in there? There was Asians, there was Muslims. It wasn't 100% black people. Those were all minorities. There was a lot of white people there too. And this wasn't just in Ferguson. This was across the nation. We had millions of people come out and protest against the death of Michael Brown by the officer Darren Wilson, who was found not guilty, and then the whole nation came out in protest. Why? Because we saw a video of the officer who was by his car 40 feet away from Michael Brown. Michael Brown has his hands up and he's on his knees and he's going down. So his hands are up and he's leaning down. Why did he shoot him 10 times? So we see, the public sees, we see, everybody sees. Black people, white people, Mexicans, Spanish, Iranians, everybody sees that he was shot and it wasn't fair. He did not need to be shot. He had his hands up. That's what shows in the video. So that's why people are really, really mad. Okay? That's why the whole nation, not just that black community, what happens is that you don't understand that the black community feels oppressed. You feel oppressed when you're not treated fairly and you're not treated equally as white people. They're not treated fairly or equally as white people, and I'll get into that in more detail a little bit later. But when you feel oppressed, especially African American teenagers, the majority of them do not have fathers that were role models to teach them what's right and wrong. So they go to gangs so they can get that role model of a male figure in their life. That's why black kids join gangs, because they don't have the father figure to be the role model. So they join gangs inadvertently, which is not good, but that's why they join, because they want to have that male bond with another male bond and be part of a group, because they probably were raised by a single mother, didn't have a good probably father was not involved in their life at all, and it's very strong for teenage boys that they need their father as a role model. So that is it's a very complex situation where the teenage African American teenagers, not only that, they go to a school that's very, very underfunded. These schools are so underfunded. The books are torn up, they're ripped up, they're old, they don't have supplies, they don't have resources, they don't have vocational training, they don't have college counseling. Everything that my daughter and my son's school, they have vocational training. They have, in 9th grade, the counselor asks you, what do you want to do? She follows you through your 4 years to make sure that you get what you need to be. My daughter wanted to be an engineer. She made sure that she got all math classes. She got AP courses, and she got a 100% scholarship at Cal State Fullerton, and doesn't pay a penny for her education. So, but she wouldn't have had that in a poor school, because in this school they had the career counselors that followed them all the way through and made sure, and she also had resources to the AP courses, and she also had vocational training. So these other schools don't have that. They don't have, and they especially don't have after school programs like sports or joining other kids in playing games, sports or crafts, or being creative in music or arts. They don't have that after school. What they do, their mother's probably still working, a single mother, and they go to their gang where they can be bonded, or like that male bond that they need, that male bond of a father figure that they did not get when they were growing up. So that's why teenagers, black youth, have that mentality of they have a very, very deep feeling that they are not treated fairly. They go to school, they don't learn well, and some might not graduate. And let me just say this too: the graduation rate for black Americans, black kids, is 77%, and the whites are 88%. So there's only a 10% difference. So that's not a big difference. And maybe people say, oh, a lot of black kids don't graduate high school. Actually, 77% do, and 88% whites do. So it's not that much of a big difference. They make it sound like only 10% graduate. But So with all these variables, it's a very complex situation that a teenager have, and also at that age, you have a high testosterone level, and male teenagers brains are still developing, and they don't understand consequences, and they don't understand cause and effect. They don't understand that your brain doesn't develop until you're 26, and with this high testosterone and all this feeling of oppression and not feeling equal and not feeling like you're part of the system, that you don't deserve to be good. They feel like they don't deserve to have a good life and go to college. So they have this oppression, this very, very oppressive, repressed anger right at the surface of their personalities. So when we have these riots, what happens is they get to break free. And I don't condone this at all, but it's mostly black youth, black male teenagers that are looting and breaking it. They're not actually taking it. They're just it's just they've exploded, and all that anger and repressed emotions comes out, and they have to take it out physically, and that's why they turn over cars, they start fires, they loot. I don't condone it, but I understand that they just exploded and all that. They have to let it out physically. That's why they do that. So it's a very complex situation of why they loot. They're not looting because they're bad kids. They're looting because they're finally exploding and letting out all that repressed anger, all that repressed sadness or depression or anxiety of not having a fairness in life. That's why they do that. I don't condone it, and they should be punished for that. And also, this is not just a black thing. The whole nation had a protest. The whole nation had an uprising. New York, Oregon, Washington, Florida, California, all 50 states had an uprising. Okay, Ben made it sound like it's only black people. Okay, it wasn't all black people. It was everybody. Everybody saw that video. White people were there, Latinos were there, Asians were there, Muslims were there. Everybody was there at the uprising. Okay, not just blacks, everybody. If you saw New York, like 400,000 people came out in New York. Washington, California, Florida, everywhere, all over the nation, they all had an uprising after Darren Wilson was found innocent of killing him, unjustified killing of an 18-year-old kid whose hands was in the air when he was shot. Everybody saw that in the video. That's why people are pissed off. And Ben, I know you're only about 34 years old. You were probably in elementary school. 25 years ago, we had the LA riot. The LA riot was way worse than Ferguson. All of LA, the city, was almost destroyed overnight. And that was because we didn't have cell phones in the 1990s. But just by chance, a guy had a camera, a real camera, and he videotaped the beating of Rodney King. And what you saw in that video, in those 2-3 minute video, was a black man laying on the ground. He is in no danger at all, especially when you have 7 white officers. They're using their batons, they're kicking him, they're beating him for like 3 minutes when he's on the ground. It's obviously a gang. They look like a white gang beating up a black guy on the ground. It was so obviously bad, and it showed that the police beat him for nothing. He was drunk, but he was on the floor. He's on the floor. Why does it take 7 white officers with batons to beat Rodney? They kicked him, punched him for like 3 minutes for no reason, and they tased him several times. And people saw this on TV over and over again. And when they went to trial, we thought like, okay, those 7 cops are gonna go to jail because they beat that guy, or they're gonna get fired. No, what happened was they're not guilty. They didn't get in trouble. They didn't even get reprimanded, and that sparked outrage, especially in LA where it happened. The whole city of LA exploded, and everybody came out and rioted. Not just black people. um, Latinos, whites, everybody was out, and the whole nation rioted with the LA. The whole nation of other states started too. Sacramento, Chicago, Florida, Mexico, California, Texas, all the other states. When they saw that video, everybody in America saw that video, and everybody in America saw that they got away with it. They didn't even get written up for it, and that outraged the whole country. And they had the same thing. They had some people that were looting and breaking cars and everything. And this was what happens when you have a community like the African American community where they feel oppressed, and when something they see that's so on video that everybody sees, that Rodney King was beaten when he was laying on the ground by 7 white officers for no reason. He received brain damage, and he was very, very severely beaten, and everybody saw this. The whole nation saw it on video, and then they got away with nothing. This is the same case in Ferguson. There's a minuscule amount of some maybe 100 people that did some, maybe 50 even, I didn't see 100, 20, 50 people that did some looting, teenage black youths that did some looting and breaking in. I don't condone of it, but I understand where they're coming from psychologically. Sociologists say, when one person starts to break a window, what happens is that there's a ripple effect, and everybody else starts doing it too. So the uprising was not just in Ferguson, it was all over the nation, and you forgot to mention that millions of people came out to protest for the Ferguson, for protest the death of Michael Brown, that his hands were up in the video. And you're saying uprising against what? Okay, let me go on number 2. So you can understand the whole nation came out, and a very small amount of couple of people, 20 people, did do some looting, but the majority of the 99% of people that were doing the uprising, you call it uprising, I call it a protest, were very peaceful and nonviolent. So you're looking at the very small part of some people that did the looting, but the majority did not do that and don't condone of it. And they tell, and when the mothers find out that their son is out there doing that, those black mothers tell them, no, you go home, you don't do that. And I believe they should be punished for that. If you break into a window or destroy property, that you should get punished for that, and you could go to jail for whatever property damage. It's not fair. You have to be fair, and they have to know that there's consequences to their actions. But for the majority of the part, 99% of all the protesters were peaceful, and the whole nation was galvanized and was very outraged by Darren Wilson being innocent when the black man's hands were up in the air. And also the autopsy showed that when he shot him straight in the head and in the shoulder, to show that his hands were up and his head was down. He was in no danger, especially when you see how far the car is from Michael Brown, like 40 feet away. How's he any danger on his knees with his hands up? So that's why there was a very, very, very strong uprising. And before this, there were many, many, many other African men that were shot in the back or shot and they were unarmed. But what makes them bad is that we see them on video. We saw a black man selling cigarettes outside a store, and the cops come up and they jump him and they lay on top of him. He says, you guys are suffocating me. I'm not breathing. Okay, there's 4 cops on top of the guy. He's not resisting. This is a problem they have. Cops don't need like 7 people on top of 1 person or 4. It should take 1 person to restrain a person or arrest a person. They are not trained well enough. Obviously, they're not trained well enough to handle 1 person. If they need 7 people to handle 1 person, obviously they're not getting good training. They're getting really, really bad training. They don't have good martial arts. They're not good in self-defense. You should be able to handle one-on-one. You don't need to have that gang mentality that police have. So that's what what you call the uprising is. That's what I would call it, a protest that went across the whole nation, that the majority, 99%, was peaceful. with just like 1% causing a little bit of damage and violence. So that's what it's for. And then you said an uprising against what exactly? Against a black police chief, against a mostly minority police force, against a black mayor, against a black president, against a black attorney general, against a city council that's 9 out of 15 black, and all 15 are elected Democrat. What is the uprising against? What is it seeking to achieve? So what it's seeking to achieve is to highlight the fact that white officers get away with murder. They get away with murder even when it's on video. It's on video, showing that they didn't need to kill, that the black man was running away, shot in the back, 40 feet away from a cop. Why would you shoot somebody in the back running away from you? Obviously, you're not in imminent danger. This is because we see on video that the black man did not need to be killed. The white officer killed somebody needlessly. That's what the uprising about, is killing black men, and white cops get away with it. That's why people are mad. Not just black people, also white people, Mexicans, all minorities, all of America found it outrageous that black people are killed in the back, or they're unarmed, or they're beaten really badly. Last year there was 56,000 people that were injured by police officers. 56,000, and 1,200 people were killed by police officers. Police officers are too brutal. They use too much excessive force, and they're way too trigger happy. They pull their gun out too fast, and they kill people within 2 seconds. White cop pulled up to this little kid who was about 7 years old with a toy gun. He doesn't even give the kid a chance. The cop could have went in the car and said, "Hey, put the gun down and walk away from it." He didn't give him a chance. As soon as he saw the gun, he shot him. Boom, boom, boom. We're like, what was that? It's a kid. He wasn't even pointing the gun at it. These videos make people outraged because they see that the cops get away with murder. White cops get away with murder. Even when it's on video, they get impunity. And when a white jury finds this, and it's an all-white jury that usually finds these cops not guilty. So that's another reason why we feel outraged, because it's an all-white jury. It's an all-white jury saying that the white cop is not guilty of killing the black man whose hands were up. So that's why people are outraged, and that's what the uprising about. Actually, the uprising is about more than that. It's much more complex. Ben Shapiro, I will have to go in a lot more detail, but pretty much where you said there's a black mayor, a black police, a black attorney general, that doesn't represent every community, every black community. You're talking about maybe one community that might have a lot of black officials, but that doesn't represent all the black communities in America. Not at all. You're talking about one city that has one black district attorney, 9 of the 15 are black, and we have a black president, of course that was Obama, and a black mayor. That's one city. You're talking about one city out of thousands of cities across America. Okay? So that doesn't condone that they're rioting. Everybody in America was, I wouldn't call it rioting, everybody in America was protesting at the same time. And it wasn't because, maybe one city had a mayor that was black, and a district attorney that was black, and a police that were black, and officials that were black. Here you're talking about one city. What about all 50 states in America that don't have that? Most black communities have all white officers. They have the white district attorney, the white jury, the white judge, the white police chief, the white district attorney, the white mayor. So the majority of the cases, black communities are usually have white officials. So you're making it sound like all these black communities have all these black officials. That's not true at all. That's very inaccurate. You're making it sound like that. That's not true at all. 99% of black communities is all white officials, all white officers, all white district attorneys, white jury, white judge, white mayor, white governor. So I don't know where you get this information. You're taking things out of context. Okay? Rioting is not useful. We should be good people and act civilized. So are you saying that people who riot, you're actually saying specifically that black people are rioting, it's not useful, and they should act like good people and act civilized. So you're saying black people who protest are not good people and are uncivilized? Do you know how racist that sounds? That's a very racist statement to make, Ben Shapiro. Okay? So, as I said before, it's not rioting because it's protesting. This protesting is not just happening in that community. When a protest happens, it happens through all 50 states. So you're not putting it in context. All 50 states are protesting. When a black man is killed and a white officer is found guilty of killing that black man, and it's on video showing that he didn't need to be killed, all over the country, the whole nation of Americans are outraged when they see the video of a black man maybe shot in the back that didn't need to be shot, and then the white officer found not guilty by an all-white jury and a white judge. This outrages people, not just African Americans. It outrages white people, Latinos, Asians, Muslims, everybody. Everybody is outraged because that affects all of us when we see an innocent person who's running away and gets shot in the back, and then the person who did the killing doesn't even get a write-up in his folder, doesn't even get a write-up or any kind of reprimand, and he's found not guilty. And it's on video. This is why people get outraged. This is the reason why we have protests. They're not called riots, Ben Shapiro. They're called protests. And it's not in one community. This is through the whole nation. Through the whole nation. Even during the LA riots of Rodney King 25 years ago, it wasn't just in LA. All of America was outraged that those 7 officers got away with beating him almost to death while he was laying on the ground for no reason. All Americans came out and protested, not just in LA, all across America. There was a national crisis. Everybody was out protesting, and they were outraged that 7 white officers got away with beating almost to death a black man laying on the floor and found not guilty. It was like, how could they be found not guilty? It's right there on the video. That's why people are outraged. We have evidence on video. White cops killing unnecessarily black men and found not guilty by the white jury, by a white judge too. So this is why there's such a level of outrage, not just with the black community, with the whole nation. Everybody feels outrage. They all feel it. We all feel it when we see somebody who's innocent and gets killed, and the person that murdered them, shot them down, doesn't get in trouble. That outrages people. You also said in crime, inequality has nothing to do with race but culture. Oh, I'm sorry. Income inequality has nothing to do with race but culture. Ben, income inequality has a lot to do with race. Okay? It's very complex and complicated. I'll just give you the short version of it. They found in a study that white applicants with a felony background had a better chance of getting a job than a black man with no felony background. That's pretty outrageous. Not only that, they found out that African Americans, when they put African American on their application, that about 24% of employers throw their application away. They found that out in a poll. Not only that, income inequality when in African American communities and neighborhoods, there are no jobs. There's no jobs. There's no businesses. If there are very few businesses. And most of the time, African Americans have to leave their community to go to another city to go grocery shopping or Walmart because they don't have that in their own neighborhood. They don't have jobs. They can't get a job in their neighborhood. There's no grocery store. There's no Walmart there. There's no Target to go to. So they can't. So that's income inequality. If you can't get a job, especially teenagers, they could get a job if there's a fast food joint around. But there's not that. There's only a few, and there's a lot of people that want to get those jobs, especially those fast food joints. A lot of mothers and fathers work there. Instead of teenagers having it. So African American teenagers don't have access to after school jobs, and they don't have access to after school programs that could help them improve and to help them motivate them to go into a career and go to college, because they could probably get a Pell Grant or get a lot of financial aid that will pay for most of it. In California, the BOG waiver, which is the governor's BOG waiver, it pays for all the tuition for a junior college. So Fullerton College, where I went to, I didn't pay any tuition. I just bought the books, but the tuition was free, and that's really good in California. You can go to a junior college, get a 2-year degree in associates, and only buy books. So that's what they need to do in poor communities, and they don't have a college in those poor communities. They like we do here. We have several colleges around here in those communities, and income inequality. Okay, they don't have job opportunities. They used to have factory jobs, but those went away and they got outsourced in other countries, and also. Income inequality has to do with most African Americans. The highest poverty rate is for African Americans, which is at, sorry, I did write that down somewhere, 27%. 27% of African American families live in poverty. And then also African Americans, single mothers, and most adults there, they're going to make minimum wage. They're going to make minimum wage, and they probably have to go to another city to work. So they make minimum wage, and there are also no jobs. So income inequality has a lot to do with race. There's no available jobs, and they make minimum wage. And that's because they live in an African American community that does not have jobs, that doesn't have good jobs, paying jobs, and they're making minimum wage. So you're absolutely false. It's absolutely true that race is income inequality. Culture, I don't know what you're saying about culture, okay? Yeah, there's a culture, but the culture, it can only go as far as what's available to them in their community, okay? You can only have a culture when you're together with your family. So you have fragmented families in the African American community because you don't have, most of the time it's single mothers and they don't have a father helping, and there's no father figure, and the boys especially, this is very detrimental to boys because they need a father figure to teach them what's right and wrong and keep them in line, and they don't have that, and that's how they join gangs. And you also said the median white net worth, the median white net worth is over 11 times that of people of color. Okay, Ben Shapiro, white people, median net worth is 11 times that of people. Okay, you also said, is America more racist now than it was in 1960? And if it is, please explain it to me and how that happened. Okay, let me explain. Is America more racist than it was in 1960? If it is, please explain to me how that happened. I would say that it's a little bit more racist. Yeah, I would say it's more racist. Okay, and the reason it's become more racist is that we have the new Jim Crow. I don't know if you know Jim Crow. Jim Crow is about segregation. That was in before the civil rights movement, and it ended. Jim Crow should have ended, but actually Jim Crow did not end because segregation is now the new Jim Crow segregation is that you have African American men that are incarcerated. So that's how we have segregated African American men. We put them in prison and segregated them from their family, from their children, from their friends, and that's what happened. And Ben Shapiro, I want you to listen very carefully to this because this is outrageous, and I want you to understand why the black community is so outraged and feels so angry. I understand their anger because if this happened to me, I would be very, very angry myself. What happened is Alabama, they found out there's this narcotic squad of 12 white officers. They are a neo-Confederate white supremacist, very racist. They think black people have lower IQs. They think all black people need to go back to Africa. Okay, so they're very, very racist, this narcotic squad. Over a 20-year period, this narcotic squad planted drugs and guns on African American men. Over a 20-year period. That's so fucked up. Ben Shapiro, what do you have to say to that? We have evidence. There's evidence in the records. There's videotapes. Overwhelming evidence. This narcotic squad, over a 20-year period, consistently planted drugs and guns on African American men. Now we have thousands of African American men in jail, and we don't know who's guilty or innocent because we don't know who they planted the drugs on. And then on top of this, the police chief probably knew, helped cover it up. To make it even worse, the district attorney was told by other cops that those black suspects were innocent and they were framed by the narcotics squad. But the district attorney, knowing that they were innocent, continued to prosecute them at the fullest extent of the law and received a harsh punishment. So we have thousands and thousands of African men who went to jail, who were innocent, treated like criminals. Their lives were taken away from them. How do you replace 5, 10, 15, 20 years of a man's life that was taken away from them? There's nothing. We can offer restitution. I hope they get $10-20 million each because they were taken away, treated very badly every day, and they were confined in a one cell, and they were not allowed freedom. Their freedom was taken away from them. Their civil rights were taken away from them. They were taken away from their family. They probably had children. They didn't get to raise their children. They lost their friends. And this narcotic squad, 20-year period. How many thousands? To me, that means that every black person, every black man that narcotic squad, arrested, all those black men are probably innocent. So you have thousands and thousands of innocent black men that were framed by these neo-Nazi Confederate white supremacist racists. That's so outrageous. Oh, to make matters even worse, LA cops were videotaped planting drugs on African American men. There's a video of this Asian cop, and he takes a bag of powder out of his pocket, and he puts it in the African American's wallet. He goes, "Wow, you've got cocaine in your wallet. Jeez." But he didn't know that another body cam car was on and videotaped him. What an idiot. Chicago, cops there's hundreds of convictions that might be overturned because there's video evidence showing cops planted the drugs on the person in their car or in their home. This is so outrageous. That cops intentionally planted drugs on African American men. Hundreds of them. On video. Videos don't lie. You have body cam. What happens is the officer he records himself by accident because he thought he turned off his body camera, but he didn't. Or what happens is he turned his off, but another cop that's parked right next to him has his on. And the body cam that they carry on them, they don't know, they forget that before you turn it on, it turns on 30 seconds before you turn it on. So in those 30 seconds, you have hundreds of cops videotaping themselves accidentally planting drugs. You see cops taking cocaine and putting it inside the person's house. You see cops putting putting cocaine in black men's cars. We don't know who's innocent or who's guilty because cops have been planting drugs on black men. And you talk about there's no racism? There's no institutional racism? This couldn't be more racist than anything. Only African American men. No, why would they plant drugs on white people? They don't want white people. They want to plant it on African American men because they're racist. Okay, there's a problem. We have police officers that are racist. They should not be police officers. They need to be fired immediately. If they're found racist, that's a problem. They're a danger to the public and to minorities. They should not be a cop. This is Chicago, New York. They have the same problem. They have 52 cases up to be overturned because video camera showed cops planting drugs on black men. Also in Baltimore, Chicago, Florida, Texas, Mexico, all over the nation, police officers have been planting drugs on innocent black men. That is fucked up. How fucked up is that? There's African American men. How many of those? There's 2 million people. Probably 1 million African men are innocent. All those people have to be released. There's all those people. Every case of an African American man who was arrested for drug possession needs to come up, and there needs to be like hundreds of thousands of African American men released from prison for being framed by police officers on video. This is just ridiculous. This is an outrage. This is just fucked up. I feel so bad for these black men. They were taken. The freedom was taken from them. They had to live in a jail cell. They only got a couple hours. Their freedom was taken from them. How do you replace a black man's life that was taken away 5, 10, 15, 20 years that was taken away from them? Every one of them, I'm sorry, it's going to cost the nation a lot of billions of dollars or trillions of dollars to give $10, $20 million restitution to these innocent black men just to make up for the life that they lost, for not raising their children, for not being with their family and friends. Oh my God, this is just terrible. Okay, so that's it. Ben Shapiro, that is one of the reasons, okay? Okay, a second reason, we have a serious problem in the nation. It's a nation crisis of racial profiling. Racial profiling. Racial profiling is you see a bunch of black kids walking, and you're like, okay, let's go fuck with those black guys. See what they got. Or maybe we can plant some drugs on them. We do that all the time too. So they stop people because they're black. They don't stop white people. Why would they stop white people? They're not racist against white people. So they stop black people, and they frisk them. I don't know. They could be planting it. From now, what we know, we don't know which cops are planting what. You really don't know. Can't trust cops anymore. After all that planting of drugs on videos, Jesus Christ, you don't know who's innocent or guilty. Oh. This is causing a serious dilemma that we need to really look into. And President Trump has to pardon all those innocent black men. He needs to release them from jail immediately and find out. I think we should release all the black men that are in there for drug offenses. Release them all. If that's 1 million of them, okay, release 1 million of them. They're not in there for violent crimes, for murder or sexual assault. These are for drug offenses. I think they all need to get released because we don't know who is guilty or innocent because cops have been videotaping themselves accidentally planting drugs. And why do cops plant drugs on black men? Why do they do that? Why? What did black men do to them? Why would they do that? To up their quota of how many men they caught with drugs? That's so fucking outrageous. Not only should they be fired, they need to go to jail. Okay, you plant drugs on somebody else and you arrest them and put them in jail. Those cops need to be prosecuted at the full extent of the law by the FBI agent, and they should get punished. They should serve jail time, maybe 5, 10 years. How many people did they plant drugs on? How many innocent people did they plant drugs on? We just don't know. Okay, so this racial profiling is a national crisis right now, and what is happening is that in New York, their police chief said, "Yeah, go ahead and do the racial profiling," and then absolutely not. Federal court judge said you cannot do racial profiling because you are just picking on African American people and you don't have reasonable cause to stop them, and it's unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional to stop people without reasonable cause. So they don't have reasonable cause when they do racial profiling. They're just saying, "Oh, there's some black people. Let's go plant something on them or whatever they're gonna do." You just fucking don't trust cops. They're planting drugs. They're racially profiling. Jesus, you wonder why the black community is outraged. This is only part of it. I haven't even started with all my evidence and statistics. So a judge said, "Stop it. You cannot do racial profiling. It's unconstitutional because you do not have reasonable cause." That was in New York, Baltimore, Chicago, Mexico, Texas, Florida, California. So the racial profiling should not be going on anymore because a federal judge has already ruled it unconstitutional. But that doesn't mean it's not happening, because you can't keep an eye on every cop. There's 376,000 police officers in America that are inadequately trained and not trained correctly, terrible training, no communication skills, no negotiation skills, no critical thinking skills. They always escalate instead of de-escalation. Yeah, they have a serious problem, okay? And they're also trigger happy, you know? They're always pulling out their gun first. Why don't you pull out your gun first? Why don't you pull the taser out, or the baton, or your pepper spray? Especially, why do you shoot people in the back, or shoot people with their hands up, or shoot people? We see so many videos where these are unnecessary shootings. And also, Ben Shapiro, you said the justified murder of thug Michael Brown. You called a deceased person a thug? That's such an insult. The person's already dead. Can you let him lie in peace? Not only that, you insulted his family by calling their dead family son a thug? A justified murder? Did you see the video, Ben Shapiro? He was kneeling with a hand up. There was no reason to shoot him. And you call it a justified murder of a thug. That's so, not only that, it's racist. Another racist statement you say, because you say there's no racism, but you're very, very racist yourself, Ben Shapiro. And of course, we call it unconscious bias. But for you, it's very conscious because you're saying it. You're saying it in the moment. You're saying these things out loud. So it's very, you not only, you have unconscious and conscious bias. You're racist, and you don't want to admit it. You're in a closet racist person. Deep down, I know you know you're racist, Ben Shapiro. Probably because you've never been around black people. I don't think you've had black friends. I don't think you associate with black people. And to really understand the black community, if you don't talk and have a dialogue with black people, how are you going to understand? And the main reason you're 34 and you're still a little bit too young, you don't have the wisdom of compassion and empathy. What happens is when you have the wisdom of compassion and empathy, you look differently at people and you want to understand. Okay, they're protesting. Obviously, there's a problem. You know, they're hurting. That's what's happening. African Americans feel hurt. They're hurting. They're hurting inside, and that's why they do that, because they don't feel they're treated fairly, and they don't feel that they're treated equally. Okay, so you have to have compassion and empathy to understand why another person acts. You have to understand. You have to think compassionately. Okay, why are they rioting? Why are they looting? Why is a protest? But that's just a small majority. Don't do violent or looting. 99% of people protest peacefully. So you have to use compassion and empathy to understand where they're coming from their perspective and how they feel they're treated in America. That would help you out more, Ben Shapiro. You should have a group forum, a group meeting with African American people from different neighborhoods and different economic status and social status, and you can have a dialogue and understand where they're coming from and listen compassionately and empathy to their feelings and how they feel about living in America, and you would get a better perspective, okay? And instead of going on and saying very insulting and negative things about black people, the black community, and Black Lives Matter. It just shows that you're just very immature and you have a big ego. And usually when you have a big ego, you want to be right all the time. So you believe you want to be right, but Ben, and you're very, very smart. But Ben, it doesn't matter whether you're right. It matters whether you connect and you understand people and you can meet in the middle and make an agreement and negotiate to make a common agreement. Okay, that's what communication is that you come together, you communicate together, and then you can agree on one thing. You meet in the middle. No one has to be right or wrong. It's not good for one person to be right and the other person to be wrong. That's not good, and you're not mature enough to get to that point. You're still 34. You still believe that you're right about everything that you say, and you have a very big ego. That's a problem too. You're only 34, so probably another maybe 20 years you'll gain wisdom of compassion and empathy, unless you stop yourself now and you slow down and try to understand how people feel from their perspective. And you don't need to be right all the run. And it doesn't matter if you're very, very smart. Smart people are not don't change the world. Okay? Martin Luther King, he was smart, but he wasn't a genius. Mother Teresa wasn't a genius, and neither was Gandhi. These people were normal people that were very, very compassionate and empathetic people. And that's what you need to have when you're speaking to the public and you want to improve the lives of other people, that you connect with them. You don't want to force people to see your side of things. You want to help people meet in the middle and agree to see something different, and you don't have to be right all the time. It doesn't matter if you're smart. Smart people don't change the world. Smart doesn't matter. It's how you treat people that matters. It's how you treat people. And I know this is way above what you would want to do. Is you need to show love and kindness and caringness and being caring towards people. That goes a long way. When you have a filter of showing love, and love doesn't mean like a romantic love, it means just respect and kindness and being caring towards other people. It's good because we want to help other people. And the only way we help other people is to understand where they're coming from and to help them. And it's not to get your own viewpoint right, that you have to be right about everything. It doesn't matter whether you're right. It doesn't. Who cares? It matters that you connect and you make a mutual agreement on an opinion. That's all. You can say, "Oh, okay, I understand your thing," but most of the time, Ben Shapiro, you fight people to force them to go to your opinion. It doesn't matter that you're right. I don't think you understand that. You don't have to be right all the time. You can give your opinion, and then another person can give their opinion. You can say, "Oh, okay, I can see your perspective and understand that." But you're 34, you're still immature for your age, and that's why you don't get it yet. So let's continue with this. Okay. So there's a problem. Okay, so we talked about 77% of black kids do graduate high school, 88% of white kids, and that's pretty good because in those black communities, the schools are severely underfunded. I think I already talked about this. Severely underfunded. Books are old, torn up. They don't have resources. They don't have computers, laptops, tablets, and they don't have a career person. They don't have vocational training. And we wonder why they don't graduate. And then also the mothers. Okay, I won't go into that. Police largely do not reflect the racial ethnic makeup of their community. The Guardian reports show rate of death for young black men was 5 times higher than young white men of the same age. This epidemic is disproportionately affecting black people. Protests accusing law enforcement officers of being too quick to use lethal force against unarmed black men. Overall, in 2015, black people were killed at twice the rate of non-blacks. 25% of African Americans were killed were unarmed. 17% were white. This disparity has narrowed since the database first published on June 1st, at which point black people killed were found to be twice as likely to not have a weapon. I know that Ben Shapiro said more white people are killed by cops. Of course that's true. That's because white people are 69% of the population, and African Americans are 13% of the population, and African men are only 6% of the population. So when you put it into proportion that 25% of African men are killed, but they only represent 6%, and what that means is that African Americans are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by police than white people. Okay? Even though more white people are killed, but proportionally, the percentage of white people killed to their population is a lot less than black people. Yeah, more white people are going to be killed because they're 69% population. There's only 6% population for African American men, but 25% are killed. So 2.5 times more likely that a black man will be killed by a police officer than a white man. Gardner reports show rate of death. Oh, I already did this one. According to the most recent census, whites represent 60% of the population. 49% of those killed by police. African Americans account for 24% of those fatally shot and killed by police, despite being only just 13% of the population. The Post noted in a new analysis published last week. That means black Americans are 2.5 times likely as whites to be shot and killed by police. U.S. police officers have shot and killed the exact same number of unarmed white and black people, 50 each. But because white population is 5 times as great as black population, that means unarmed black Americans are 5 times as likely as unarmed white people to be shot and killed by police. So you have to do it in proportion. We understand that more white people get killed. That's because there's more white people in America. But there's only 13% African American, only 6% African American men. While in raw numbers, there were similar totals of white and black victims, blacks were killed at rates disproportionately to the percentage of the U.S. population of all unarmed people shot and killed by police. 40% were black, even though black men make up only 6% of the nation's population. Blacks are 3 times more likely to be killed by cops than whites on a per capita basis. Single greatest threat to black men, fully justified thug. Okay, we've already gone over that. Yeah, there's 69% of white people, 13% of black, and he said the racist white Democrats, the black racists, need more law enforcement and need the rule of law of safe space. White racist and race baiting pushes lawlessness, and puts dead young black men in its wake. Oh, Ben Shapiro said that the white racist Democrats. I don't know any racist Democrats. Ben Shapiro, did you hear that? Do you have evidence of that? Ben Shapiro, do you have video or written evidence or tweets or something saying that a Democrat said that was racist? If you do, we would like to see that. That would be good to see, so we can see who's racist. If you don't have that evidence, then obviously there's no racist Democrats. And also, you said that black communities needs the rule of law of safe space, and also that Democrats do race baiting. I have not seen any evidence of race baiting from Democrats. Do you have evidence? Ben Shapiro, do you have videos, anything in writing, tweets, emails, anything to prove that Democrats are race baiting? If you do, then I urge you to bring that out so we can analyze that and see who's being who's doing the race baiting. And you said that black neighborhoods need a rule of law of space, a safe space, because it leaves dead young black men in its wake. Okay, there's already too many police people in African American communities, white officers, who are busy planting drugs on black men. We already know that. We don't need over policing. What we need are good police. What we need are good police. There's already a lot of police in the black neighborhoods, and they're busy racially profiling, bothering African American men. That's another thing. Ben Shapiro, did you know that black men get pulled over a lot? It's called driving while black. And I know this for sure because my stepfather is black and he has a Mercedes. We've gone to LA, we've been to LA a lot, and several times we've been pulled over, and the cops I'm all like, what are you getting a ticket for? He's all, where are you going? What are you doing? I'm like, you gotta stop us to ask us what we're doing and where we're going? Are you going to give us a ticket or what? And he's all like, no, I just need to know where you're going and what you're doing. I'm like, man, that's not even legal. That's not even a reason to stop us. So he stopped my stepfather because he's black and he's driving a nice car, a Mercedes. And that happened several times. Okay, I'm with my Jewish white husband and we drive in LA, no problem. We don't get stopped at all. We're not going to get stopped. He's white. Why would they stop a white guy? They only want to stop black guys. I don't know what it is with harassing black men. It's just outrageous. Can you leave black men alone? Jesus. If they're not speeding or breaking the law, leave them alone and stop racial profiling. And it's true. A police officer is always going to stop an African American man. It's already proven in empirical studies in Arizona that they have a high rate of stopping African Americans in the daytime, more in the daytime than nighttime, because at nighttime they can't see if they're black or white. So that showed that they were stopping African Americans driving for no reason. I've seen on a video this black man who was a very good citizen, 37 years worked at his work. He passed a stop line by maybe a foot. So the cops, two of the white cops, go up to him. And remember, this is a minor ticket. He just went past the stop line by a foot. They open the door. They pull out the guy. Immediately, they put him, the black guy, in a chokehold, and they punch him 16 times in the head. He's thrown on top of the hood of the police car. It's on body camera. And then, oh, wow, they found cocaine in his car. Wow, what a coincidence. Jesus, what a coincidence. And while he went to the hospital, he told them to do a drug test on him, and there was no drugs in the system. But his lawyer found the videotape of the whole assault on tape, showing the white cops pulling him out, choking him, and punching him 16 times in the head, throwing him on top of the car for no reason. They beat this guy for going 1 foot past a red line. The reason they pulled him out of the car is because he was a black man, and they like to beat up black men. That's the fucking real reason. Jesus Christ. This is on video. He even got a settlement of $1 million for being assaulted for nothing. Why would they just pull out a black man and start beating him? Makes no sense. A lot of these cops need to be fired, okay? A lot of these cops, another thing, have many complaints in their files. A lot of these cops have at least 5, 10, 20, 30 complaints. In a regular job, if you have 3 complaints, you're fired. These cops have 5, 10, 15, 20, 30. And then when they are fired, unbelievably, they can go work in the next city. That happens over and over. They'll fire a cop, he'll go work in another city. Why would they hire a cop that was just fired from another city? It makes no sense. It just shows how stupid, how retarded our law enforcement is. Just outrageous. Many of these police cops, I think they would have to fire half of them for planting drugs, for racially profiling, for being racist, for anger issues, for mental issues. we don't trust cops, man. For what they've been doing to the black guys, we don't know, man. Okay. The single greatest threat to black men is fully justified thug Michael Brown. I already went over that. Okay. He issues a challenge to find laws that have racist intent. Okay, so the laws Ben Shapiro that have racist intent are that they ask for the race of people on applications, and then when they see it's black, they don't pick the person. Okay, that is not white privilege. Okay, and there is white privilege. Ben Shapiro, I would have to debate about that on another video because you're just absolutely false. You don't. Have you done research on any of this? Absolutely, there's white privilege. I know that because I have white family members, and I know how they're treated differently than my black family members. And Ben Shapiro, there is white privilege, and I'll have to go on another video about that. I'm still ranting on about your seriously insulting remarks to the black community. 2009 crack cocaine violations, 79% were black people, 10% were white, 10% were Latino. Black people are disproportionately targeted by unfair drug sentencing laws. Black people get harsher sentences, 20% longer than white people. Who devalues black lives? Who devalues black lives? Ben Shapiro asked. The KKK, the white supremacists. Do you know how many KKK, white supremacists, and alt-right there are? And white supremacists there are in America? There's probably a million. There's millions of them. KKK in America that are devalue the black life. Explain why black kids aren't graduating in high school. Like you said, 77% graduated, and that's pretty good. It's only 10% less than white kids, considering they come from a very poor school. Racial bias in law enforcement. Oh my God, did I just go over the whole racial bias in law enforcement? First, it's the planning of the drugs, the racial profiling, the stop black African Americans when they're driving nice cars or in a good neighborhood. Why are you in this neighborhood? You don't live here. Yeah, nothing to do with race and everything to do with culture. No, of course it has to do with race. Jeez, Ben Shapiro, did you do any study or research on what you're talking about? Black kids are shooting each other. They are 13% of the population, but are 50% murdered. Number is black kids in prison, not for innocent reasons. Okay, that's what Ben Shapiro said. Okay, the reason why black kids, so the reason why we have black on black crime, that would be because it's in the African American community. They're only associating with African American people. Yeah, that's why. Hello? African American community, African American neighborhood, they're only associating with each other, and they have gangs that have different parts of the city, so they are very loyal to their gang and to their territory, so they get in, they have their drive-by shootings, and the reason why is because in black neighborhoods only blacks and blacks associate with each other. They're not. That's the reason why it's 90% of blacks on black crime, because they only associate with each other. Blacks and blacks only associate with each other in a black community. It only makes sense. It's black on black crimes. That's why it's gang members. Remember what I said about young teenagers, black kids going into gangs because they don't have a father figure. They don't have a role model, and they need that male bond, and they can only get it through a gang. So that's really sad. That's why I think Betsy DeVos needs to put a lot of money into these poor communities and really invest in the high school, invest in after-school programs, especially for African American kids, vocational training, to give these kids opportunity, music lessons, art lessons, field trips to culture, to help them feel better and to help them see that they can live a good life and see what's available to them, their options of going to of careers. They should do field trips to colleges so they can see what college they might want to go to. They should bring in people from my high school, my kids' high school. They have career day, and what happens is like doctors, nurses, engineers, whatever, come in. They talk about their careers, encourage kids. They don't have that in poor neighborhoods because the parents are not professionals, so they can't have a career day. They would have only like fast food workers, minimum wage jobs coming in there. They don't have enough parents that have professional careers that they could have a career day. So they're going to have take it other volunteers from parents from other cities that can come in and they can have a career day. They need to have a career day in every year in those high schools. Okay, so the idea that the more outrageous you are is justified. Evidence of racism when there's no evidence of racism is probably not racist. There is an equally so, therefore is an equity. Evidence of racism when there's no evidence of racism, it's probably not racism. Okay, so we have evidence of racism. We have it on video. We have confessions from cops that planted drugs on black men. We have videos of cops planting drugs, thousands of them. We have videos of racial profiling. A judge has already ruled against that. You cannot racial profile anymore. It's unconstitutional. That's the evidence. Okay, your default is when there is no evidence of racism is a deciding factor. There are overwhelming evidence of racism. Did you just not get the part where they were planting drugs on African American men? Did you not get the part where there's racial profiling? Did you not get the part where African men are stopped in their cars for nothing? Did you not get the part where African Americans are pulled out of their car? Did you not get the part where African Americans are shot in the back? Or they're unarmed? These are on video. We see on video white cops killing African American men that are running away, or they're lying on the ground, or their hands are up, and they're still shot. And they're not just shot one or two times. They usually inhale both 2 or 3 cops unload their whole gun into the person. So they've been shot 30 times. It's a firing squad. It's out of control. These cops are out of control. They don't know how to negotiate or handle a situation in a calm manner, a calm, assertive manner, because they lack communication skills. They lack negotiation skills. Okay, there's no solution in just saying there's racism out there. How does it solve anything? Yeah, talking about racism puts it in the conversation. We want to talk about racism. We want to talk about it, so we can bring it out and see what other people think about it, so that our politicians know about it, so that our leaders in our neighborhood and local and the state and the federal know that there's racism out there against African American men, especially the community, black community, Latinos, of course, Muslims, Islams. Yeah, we need to talk about racism because it opens a conversation. We can understand what's happening and how we can solve this problem. So yeah, we do need to talk about it. It does solve the problem. It starts a dialogue. The idea that you can craft a narrative on no racism because it just must be out there in the ether, it creates more problems in an environment that are faced from a shadowy, harmless group. Okay, so the idea you can craft a narrative that on racism because it just must be out there. No, we're not making up the racism thing. We have overwhelming evidence. There's so much empirical data, evidence, facts, data, studies, research about racism against black Americans. There's so many research studies, data, and statistics to show it. It's in The Guardian, Mother Jones, the Politico, it's in Washington Post, Huffington Post, all these very, very, very public institutions are reporting the data of African American people not treated fairly. Okay, so Ben Shapiro exposes Black Lives Matter. Correlate the level of outrage with justification. So Ben Shapiro is saying just because you show you're so outraged to justify, meaning how outraged you feel. Yeah, I told you they feel oppressed. Okay, when you grow up and your mother doesn't make that much money, and you live in a poor neighborhood, and your father's not around, you're going to have a problem as a child growing up. And probably most of your family are poor too, because you're all living in a poor neighborhood. Okay, overwhelming evidence of racism in America. 51% of Americans had a negative black perspective. 51%. Anonymously, of course. Black lives matter. Do they matter? Hands up, don't shoot is a lie. Not true. Blacks are killed by police. Okay, so Ben Shapiro said hands up, don't shoot is a lie? Are you serious? Ben Shapiro, 1,200 people were killed last year. Of those killed, 99% of them were killed because their hands were not up. They could not see their hands. 99% of 1,200 people killed last year because they could not see their hands. Okay? Or they were reaching in, reaching out. If you're reaching anywhere and they don't see your hands up, okay, you're going to get shot. Not only that, 56,000 people were wounded and injured by police, majority because they couldn't see their hands. Okay? That's a huge evidence to show that you have to have your hands up. I've told my children, if you ever stop, you put your hands up immediately, keep it on the steering wheel, follow directions or whatever they say. If they tell you to reach for your ID or your registration, you tell them to get it from your pocket or from the glove compartment. You do not move your hands off the steering wheel. I've seen a video of a black guy in a car and his black girlfriend. They pull him over. They ask him, and the black guy says right away, he goes, I just want you to know that I have a permit to carry a gun. And the white cop doesn't say anything. And he tells him, okay, show me your ID. So he goes to reach in the back of his pocket to get ID. Boom, boom, boom. Shot 3 times. I'm like, what the hell is that? You just asked him for his ID. You asked him for his ID. And then you shoot him. The cop goes, I thought he was reaching for his gun. Idiot, did you just not say a second ago to get your ID? He died, incidentally. He died. His girlfriend videotaped it all on the camera, and while he was bleeding there, he did not call the ambulance. He kept his gun on him while he was bleeding out of his stomach. It was ridiculous. I've seen another video of a black kid driving a car into the gas station. A police pulls up right after him, and the kid gets out. The black kid gets out, and the cop goes, let me see your driver's license. And the kid goes back in the car, and the cop, boom, boom, boom. And the black kid's going, what the hell? What are you doing? Why are you shooting me? He goes, well, I thought you were reaching for a gun. He goes, you just asked me for my ID. Police give conflicting information, confusing information. Get your ID. Oh, I'll shoot you. Get your ID, and then they shoot him. Oh my gosh, it makes no sense. It's so outrageous and annoying. It's so stupid. Okay, it's very, very stupid. Okay, 31 million black men is a crisis. 26 men shot half are justified. I don't know what that means. Black Lives Matter doesn't believe Black Lives Matter. In fact, they are the single greatest threat facing young black men. Ben Shapiro, you're saying that Black Lives Matter is a single greatest threat for young black men? Are you serious? Have you read the website? They just want to be treated fairly and equally, and they want to have, when a crime has been committed against them, they want to have justice. I don't understand what you're trying to say here. Black Lives Matter, of course, they are very, very supportive of their African American brothers. They're very, very supportive of their African American brothers. And African American men know they can rely on Black Lives Matter when they need support or help. So I don't know where you get that information. Do you have a video or evidence of that showing that Black Lives Matter is a single threat to black young men? Do you have evidence, any evidence, data, research to prove that. No, you don't. So that was a lie. You made up. Now, you're seriously racist, but you don't even know it. Or you know it, but you don't want to admit it. Who wants to survive to become old black men? So why have Democrats embraced the Black Lives Movement? Okay, Democrats have embraced the Black Lives Movement because Democrats are a diverse, very diverse group of people. In the Democrats, it's mostly white. In the Republicans, it's mostly white people. We know that because it's a religious, it's a conservative because they have religious values. But in the Democrat, it's secular. So there are religious people, but it's a very, very, very diverse group of people, the Democrats, because a lot of minorities are Democrats. So that's why Democrats embrace the Black Lives Matter, because there are black senators, black Democrats, there are Mexican Democrats, there are Asian Democrats. That's why the Democrats are a diverse group. There's blacks, Mexicans, Asians, all different ethnicity of Democrats. That's why they embrace the Black Lives Matter, because they believe the Black Lives Matter is very concerned for the African American men that are killed that were innocent. Ugh. Black Lives Matter rose to prominence after the fully justified killing of Michael Brown, of an 18-year-old thug by white officer Darren Brown Wilson in Ferguson, Missouri. They claimed he murdered Brown for racist reasons that was totally false. Okay, we've already went through this. Okay, Michael Brown was next to the car with Darren Wilson. They were arguing, so Michael Brown runs away. The cop yells at him. Michael Brown turns around and puts his hands up, and he kneels down. Boom, 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 boom. He's 40 feet away from the cop. Why is he shooting him? He's in no imminent danger. Okay? That's racist. Okay? He shot him because he was black. You think he would have shot a white guy that was kneeling on the ground with his hands up? No. Darren Wilson shot Michael Brown because he was an African American and he was black. And Darren Wilson is racist. That's a racist killing. Okay? That's a fact. It's on video. On video for the whole nation to see. And he's not a thug. You don't call a dead person a thug. Let him rest in peace. And you insulted his family, calling their son, who's resting in peace, a thug. Nobody's a thug. That's another thing. That's a racist insult to call a black man a thug. That's a very racist and very insulting. That's very insulting. That's very negative. Why would you call somebody a thug? Okay? Even your words you use to describe black people is very negative. It's outrageous. Okay, so facts and evidence mean nothing to the Black Lives Movement and their allies defending criminals, rioters, and lying about police. That's what matters to the Black Lives Movement. Okay, Black Lives Matters don't start protests. What happens is other protests start and the Black Lives Matter joins them, or the protesters will ask for the Black Lives Matter to come, or the Black Lives Matters will have the protest. And the majority, 99%, it's all peaceful. Okay? And you said that they're lying about police. You don't have to lie about police. The police are already fucked up in the head. We know that. They're planning drugs. They're racially profiling. They're stopping black men in cars. We already know that. They get a harsher sentence. If a black man is tried by a white jury, 100%, he's found guilty. Not only that, he's going to get a 20% longer sentence because he's black by the judge. Man. So what do the Black Lives Matter want? Ben Shapiro asked. The immediate arrest of Officer Darren Wilson to decrease law enforcement spending at the local, state, and federal laws by fighting cops, Black Lives Matter, and Democrats get Black lives killed. Okay, first of all, it doesn't matter if he's arrested. He was already found not guilty. This must have been before. And you said they want to decrease law enforcement spending at the local, state, and federal level. I didn't find that anywhere on their website. I even emailed them. They said, no, that's not true. And of course not. Why would they want to cut funding for law enforcement in the local, state, and federal? Why? Doesn't make no sense. Where did you get that evidence? Do you have evidence of this, Ben Shapiro, or are you just making this up? I think you're just making this up in your own delusional mind. You have a very distorted reality. You have a very inaccurate perception, very distorted perception, and you're thinking about these things, and you don't have any facts or evidence to back this up. Because these are very, very serious allegations that you're making against the black people and the Black Lives Matter. By fighting cops, Black Lives Matter, and Democrats get Black lives killed. They're not fighting cops. How are Black Lives Matter fighting cops? I've never seen any Black Lives Matter fighting cops. Are you serious? There's no Black Lives Matter fighting cops. They got better things to do than be around cops. Are you serious, Ben Shapiro? Do you have video, any kind of evidence that Black Lives Matter are fighting cops, and Democrats get Black lives killed? How do Democrats get Black lives killed? Ben Shapiro, this is just some outrageous, salacious, inadequate, distorted allegation you have that Democrats are getting Black lives killed. Of course Democrats are not getting Black lives killed. Show me some evidence. If you have a video, if you have an email, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, if you have any evidence that shows that Democrats were directly correlated to the death of black people, I want to know the evidence. You just can't say that allegation and not have evidence about it. So you better have some kind of data, statistics, or research, studies, investigation, any kind of information to prove this fact. Okay, the real threat to young black men doesn't lie with white police officers at all. And in reality, cops don't over-arrest black victims, reports match victim data. That's absolutely false. In reality, cops do over-arrest blacks. Why? Because they're racially profiling. While they're racially profiling, they're disproportionately targeting black men by racially profiling, by planting drugs on them, by stopping them in their car. Yeah, they are arrested more. We've already gone through that. They're arrested 5 times more than white people. Why? Because white cops are stopping black men. If you stop people and you try to find something, or you plant something, that's why there's more African Americans in prison. Not because they do more, because we know that whites, blacks, and Latinos all do drugs of marijuana, cocaine, everything at the same rate. But African Americans are the ones that get drug possession, and then they get the minimum mandatory sentencing, meaning for 4 joints to get 5 years, while a white guy will probably get community service. That's why they're so outraged. Ben Shapiro, your information is so wrong, false. You're giving false information to the public. Sentencing disparities among racism. That's an effective prior criminal history and other variables, but not race. Ben Shapiro, please, okay? Yes, there's a seriously huge difference in sentencing disparities. African American men are get at least 20% to 25% more time than white people and Latinos. Okay? And that's from the Labor and Statistics Bureau, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and also from Politico and the Washington Post. I have 4 different evidence. Okay, what else? It didn't happen for the same reason segregated schools were derelict. Racist white Democrats wanted it that way. Okay, Ben, okay, it didn't happen for the same reason segregated schools were derelict. Okay, segregated schools were derelict, but racist white Democrats wanted it that way. Okay, so are you saying that during um, Board versus Brown in 1954, when we ended segregation in schools, that white Democrats wanted it to be segregated? That's a serious allegation. Do you have any evidence, video of any type, statistics, data, research, study to prove this fact that white Democrats wanted to keep segregation in schools? That's a serious allegation, okay? Where do you make up this stuff from? You have to have evidence. You can't just say things. Today, the people pushing against police presence in the black community are the black racists, like the people who led the Black Lives Matter and the Democrats they control. Are you saying that Black Lives Matter control the Democrats? Are you serious? Black Lives Matter, they have a totally separate agenda. They're concentrated on their black community, brothers and sisters, their own black community, and what they need to do. They're not bothered by the Democrats. It's a separate issue. Democrats have their own thing going on. Black Lives Matter has their own thing going on. Again, if you have any evidence, video, or anything to show that Black Lives Matter and the Black Lives Matter controls the Democrats. The truth is that black communities desperately need more law enforcement. They need basic rule of law so the vacuum isn't filled by gangs. Only the rule of law creates a safe space for which business investment, which provides jobs and economic growth, a modern black racism. So the truth is that black communities desperately need more law enforcement. Are you serious? White cops, there's way too many cops in these poor neighborhoods. Why? Because they're so busy planting drugs on them. That's probably why. They're probably busy planting drugs on them. The African Americans are harassed by police. They're over policed. You can ask them. They've all probably every black person has been stopped once by police, white police, for no good reason probably. You need reasonable cause to stop people. You just can't stop them because you see a group of black people or a black man driving. Okay, and with all this planting of evidence, planting of drugs on black men, don't trust police officers anymore. They got away with it for 20 years. Okay? So, no, the rule of law, extra policing in a community, it's not going to improve their life. They already have too many white officers in there harassing them and irritating them instead of them making the community being part of the community. The police need to be part of the community so they can protect and serve, which they were sworn to do, instead of killing people and harassing black people. Okay, so that's absolutely false. They don't need more law enforcement in there to create a safe space so the vacuum won't be made up by gangs. That's a more complex situation. It has to do with the father role and the male bond. It has nothing to do with black communities desperately needing more law enforcement. That's an outrageous statement. That's outrageous. Did you think about that, Ben Shapiro? Okay. There's no way they need that. They're already over-policed. Okay, Ben Shapiro. It's still those racist Democrats that benefits from the destruction, while racists like Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders are happy to watch black people die if it means winning elections by race baiting. Again, do you have any evidence, video, email, tweet, Facebook, Instagram, anything to show that Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders did race baiting? You said that Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders are happy to watch black people die? That's really serious allegations. You're accusing them of murder. You're accusing Bernie Sanders, the most popular politician in America, of murder of black Americans that they are happy to murder black Americans? And Hillary Clinton? Do you have any evidence of that, Ben Shapiro? No, you don't. You're just making up information from your own mind, delusional mind. Because you're so smart, you're very creative in your allegations. You can't give these allegations without following up with evidence about that. No, Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton don't want to kill black men, and they're not happy if black men get killed. Of course not. Bernie Sanders is not only the most popular politician, Bernie Sanders is the most popular person in America. Did you know that? And Bernie Sanders has been a civil rights activist for 50 years. In college, he did a protest because there was segregated housing, and he did a sit-in protest to protest the segregated housing, and he went through all the civil rights movements with Martin Luther King, and he has 50 years of civil rights movements, more than you were born. You're 34, you could probably be your grandfather. And Hillary Clinton, no, I mean, she represents the establishment, but no, she's not happy if a black person dies. That's an outrageous allegation. Oh my gosh, where are you getting this information from? Black Lives Matter does not fight to save black lives. Of course Black Lives Matters. Black lives are very important to Black Lives Matter. That's why there's a Black Lives Matter. They care about their own brothers and sisters. They care. If they need support or they need anything, they know they can go to Black Lives Matter, and Black Lives Matter really cares what happens to their own black African American brothers and sisters. Where are you getting this from? Ben, please. Rule of law means safety for black Americans. They already have rule of law. I already said they're over-policed by white cops who have nothing to do but bother and harass black people. Black Lives Matter pushes lawlessness. What? What are you talking about? I've never heard anything about Black Lives Matter pushing lawlessness. No, they're not doing anything that's unlawful. I haven't seen anything. Do you have any evidence of this, Ben Shapiro? Do you have any evidence that Black Lives Matter has been unlawful and pushes unlawfulness? Do you have evidence? If you do, I urge you to bring it forward to prove these allegations. Democrats leave dead young black men in its wake. Okay, again, do you have any evidence that Democrats were directly involved in a killing of a black man? Do you have any evidence of that? You seriously need to bring this evidence forward? These are seriously outrageous allegations. I don't know where you get this information from. Okay, fractured gang, a sense of hopelessness. Gang members clash with other gang members over parts of the city. So that's why there's a 90% black on black. And that would be because in the black neighborhood, they're black people. Black guys, black gangs, against another black gang. Fighting over territory. Doing drive-by shootings with each other. That's why it's only the black on black. So it makes sense that there's going to be more killings on black because they associate with each other. Police actually hesitate more often with black suspects, and they shoot black suspects less often than whites. Ben Shapiro, please, how many videos have you seen? Hundreds of videos show that police disproportionately target African American men. They're shot 2.5 times more likely. We've already gone over this. They're 2.5 times more likely to be shot than white people. So it's absolutely false. Police do not hesitate. Police act very quickly in shooting black men. And they shoot black suspects. Okay? More. 2.5 times more than whites. The real threat to young black men lies in other young black men. Yeah, that's true. I agree with that. Because they're black against black association in their black neighborhoods. Okay. Black people generally are 8 times more likely to be murdered than white people. Okay, did you know that? Murder is the number one reason for 18 to 34-year-old black men committed by other black men. Yeah, because it's in a black neighborhood with black men against other black men in a black neighborhood. They're only associated with black people. That's why it's black on black. 6% of the population is black, and 4% are murder victims and perpetrators. It's been that way for a century. 1920s black murder rate was 7 times that of whites. In 1950s, black murder rates was 12 times the murder rates of whites. Why this disparity? Because generation white racist Democrats did not want to police black communities. Here we go again. You're saying that Democrats are racist and they didn't want to police in the black communities? What? Please tell me you have some evidence again. Please tell me you have evidence. You probably heard this from somebody that doesn't even know what they're talking about. Why the disparity? Because, okay, Democrats threw black men in jail for petty crimes, but they did nothing when black men murdered other black men. Democrats threw black men in jail for petty crimes? I don't know where you're getting that from. It's true that early on in like 1800s, Democrats were were pro-slavery. They were slave owners, the Democrats, in the beginning, and then it switched. But in recent times, in the 21st centuries, Democrats threw black men in jail for petty crimes. So I don't have I don't. Please tell me you have some data or studies or statistics to prove this outrageous allegation. Another one. Radical Republicans who wrote the 14th Amendment wrote the Equal Protection Clause specifically to stop such abuses. John Bingham made the full and equal benefits of all laws and proceedings for the security of persons and property. But that never happened. So John Bingham tried to make it equal property and tried to help the African Americans by having the full and equal benefits of all laws and proceedings for the security of persons and property. So he tried to help. High unemployment in Chicago, severely underfunded public schools, more guns than computers, and over-incarceration, and too many police view us as inhuman and dispensable. So that's how people feel in Chicago. In Chicago, they have a high employment rate. Their schools are severely underfunded. There's more guns than computers. There's over-incarceration because of the racial profiling and the planting of drugs. And stopping black guys in other cars for no reason, except for they're black driving another car. Too many police view black people as inhuman and dispensable. That's really true. That's true. They're planting drugs on black men. They're racially profiling them. Obviously, they don't feel that they feel like they're inhuman and dispensable. They see their own black brothers being shot unnecessarily and the white officer getting away with murder over and over again. That's why we have this protest. 25 years ago was the biggest riot, was the LA riot, where Rodney King was laying on the ground, a black guy, while several white officers beat him badly for no reason. He was drunk and laying down. And the only reason he was putting his hands out was defensive, was to block the baton from hitting his face. Oh. And they got away with murder. They got away with the beating. That's why there was outrage, not only in LA, across the nation. Okay, gangs replaced the fathers. Yeah, the gangs have replaced the father roles. Black youth feel illegitimate and non-existent. A gun in their hand makes them feel powerful. So because black youth don't have that father role model or a very strong male role model, maybe like a grandfather, uncle, if they don't have that, they're more likely to go in gangs so they can have that male bonding. So black youth feel illegitimate and non-existent. Okay, they feel illegitimate and non-existent if they don't have opportunities in high school or after school programs or a father figure and their mother's never home. They feel illegitimate and non-existent. This is coming from the words of black youth. That's how they feel. Okay, so I understand how they feel. That's how they feel. They feel they're illegitimate and non-existent, which is really sad. We need to invest a lot of money in these poor communities. To stop this, black youth must be aligned culturally alienated Afrocentric curricular activities. So they're saying that black youth it would be helpful for black youth to be aligned culturally with their culture. So to do that, you would have a nucleus. You would need a nucleus family of the mother, the father, the siblings, the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, and the cousins, all coming together and being a strong cultural African culture, and do African culture through the whole family. So even if there's not a father, the mother can bring in the grandparents, the uncles, and the cousins, and the whole family, and they can be close. Because if a teenager knows that they have a lot of people to rely on, they can feel more secure, and they feel more confident knowing that they have a strong family bond, and he'll always be safe and loved from his family, and he'll have a much better confidence. So they need that nucleus strong family bond so that they can stay out of the gangs at try to go to college and get a good education. Minorities don't have privileges. Oh, okay, so this is Ben Shapiro saying there's no white privilege. There's absolutely white privilege. I've seen it in myself. I've witnessed it myself. I've seen it not only in my life, I've seen it in other people's lives, how different white people are treated. A good-looking white woman gets a lot of attention. Men will jump, and she drops something, 10 men will jump and get it. They'll ask her, they buy her stuff. I had a really pretty white girl, a friend that was white. She was really pretty and skinny, and we would go to the gym, and guys would just flock to her, and they're like, "Oh, hi, Sharka. Dude, I bought you an ice cream. Oh, I bought you a cookie. Oh, dude, I bought you an apple." She would get gifts. I mean, they would just shower it on her, and then they just ignored me. It really didn't bother me. I was like, geez, they're gonna really fall all over her. Okay, so minorities. You said minorities have privileges. Okay, they do have affirmative action. They need the affirmative action. If they didn't have it, they wouldn't be in colleges. Because the college administration, they have unconscious bias, and a lot of African Americans don't make it in. They're going to pick white people. They're going to pick white people over African Americans to be in their college because they think white people are smarter. And that's really false. As 20%, African Americans are 27%, Latinos are 26%, and whites are 9.9%. Okay, double burden of poverty extends out the door of a family's home and occupies the entire neighborhood around, touching streets, schools, groceries, and stores. So when a family, African American family, is poor, it goes out the street to the whole neighborhood, to the schools, to the grocery stores. So that's why they have that. So that's why, he asks us what they try to achieve by this uprising. I call it a protest. What they're trying to achieve is, like I said, just like what Black Lives Matter said, they want to be treated fairly and equally, meaning they get the fair jobs, they get the education, same high school education, elementary, vocational schools, that they're not harassed. They are harassed, and they are, and okay, so let me tell you, Ben Shapiro. Okay, I have black family members. When we go in the store, they don't acknowledge us, and then security follows around. I'm like, Jesus, what's the problem? And then they search us when we leave. We go to eat. The waitress takes 5 minutes to acknowledge us, and other people are getting served that came after us. Okay, we drive and we get stopped. Hey, where are you guys going? What are you doing? I'm like, what the heck? What's with this? Okay, so I'm with my white family. My husband is white, Jewish, and my white in-laws. We go to the grocery store. We go to the store. Oh, hi, welcome. Can I help you find anything? Security don't even notice us. They help the white person, follow them around, get them whatever they need. We go to eat. We get attention immediately. We get water before we even sit down. They're asking us for our drinks, and our food goes really fast. We do not get stopped. They don't stop white people. They don't want. Why would we want to stop white people when they're racist against black people? Doesn't make any sense. So, Ben Shapiro, there is white privilege, and black people are treated differently. They don't get the attention. They're not treated fairly, obviously, in the criminal justice system, especially by cops, especially when they get subprime loans that they know they can't afford, that the mortgage company gives them, knowing that they can't afford it. So they're setting them up for failure. And also, African Americans, they get paid less than white people. They found out they get paid 26% less than white people, black people, and they don't get hired. They don't get hired as much as white people. They're the last to get hired. They kind of get their application thrown away. So they have the hiring thing, going to school. You know, if you're in high school, you didn't get the AP courses, you didn't get the calculus in your high school because you didn't have computers or a laptop. And this is just some of Ben Shapiro. This video went way too long, but Ben Shapiro had, you had very, very negative, distorted, inaccurate information about the black community, about black people, about Democrats, about Black Lives Matter. They do care about their own brothers and sisters. Democrats do care. They don't want to kill black people. Black people are outraged because they're oppressed. They're oppressed, and you haven't gotten it yet. You still have a big ego, and you're very smart. It doesn't matter if you're smart. It doesn't matter if you're right. It matters how you treat people and how you make people feel. That's what matters. And you have to have the wisdom of compassion and empathy to understand another person. So I notice in your debates that most of the time you want to force people to think like you, which is not fair because everybody has the right to their own opinion. Okay, you have the right to your own opinion. So when somebody challenges you on your opinion, and you want a rebuttal against them, to make yourself look right, it doesn't matter. It means you have a big ego and you need to be right. And you have to have the wisdom of compassion and empathy to understand any kind of people or understand life in general, especially to understand the black community and African American men who've been mistreated. You have to give them compassion and empathy and have a dialogue with them, and then you can understand where they come from and why they feel oppressed and why they have to have these protests. It's not just black people protesting, it's white people, Mexicans. A lot of other people are protesting with the black people. A lot of people are outraged. They get outraged seeing those videos of black innocent men killed, shot in the back too. So Bishop Pearl, all the allegations, false allegation, distorted information, and inaccurate information that you made about black people or the black community, Black Lives Matter, and the Democrats are absolutely false. If you have evidence or videos, I need to see those evidences to prove what you've been saying of these seriously negative allegations that you have towards the Democrats and the black community. If you have any proof of anything that you have said so far, I urge you to please bring it forward or make another video, and then we can discuss the topic. Okay, I don't need to be right. I'm just giving a different perspective of your video, which was very negative. And what reason? Why would you put down black people? What was your intention of that? Why would you put down black people and say that they have to act like humans? They are human beings. They're hurting. And they feel pain. Okay, black people are hurting. Of course they're human beings. They're hurting. And then you say they're not human. They have to act like human beings. That's such a really, really insulting thing to say. That somebody's not a human being. Okay, these are feeling people. Of course they're human beings. That's why they're out there. Their African American brother, was murdered needlessly. That's why they're out there. So I think you really need to work on the wisdom of compassion and empathy to understand a group or to understand any other situations in life. You have to have compassion and empathy and also have love. Love doesn't mean that you love the person, it just means that you respect the person and you wish the best for them. Be kind and caring person. So I don't understand why you made this big deal of putting a negative light on black people, on the black community, and Black Lives Matter. What is it to you what Black Lives Matter do if they're trying to help their black people? What is it to you um, if you're wrong and black people are disproportionately targeted? What's your intention of saying all those negative things about black people and the Democrats and the Black Lives Matter? What is your intention of saying that? What are you trying to achieve? You're putting negative things out about black people, the black community, Democrats, and Black Lives Matter, and that's not right. That's not right. Okay, if you do videos, you should do videos to help people or improve people, not to put down a whole culture, a whole race. And just by the way, anthropologists and biologists and evolutionary and the DNA Genome Project says we are all hominids, we are all Homo sapiens, and anthropologists says there's only one race. There's only one race. We are all one race. The only difference is that some of us have more melanin or less melanin in their skin that gives them the color. I have medium melanin, so I have a medium amount of melanin. White people have no melanin or very little, and black people have a lot of melanin that makes them dark. But we are all in reality one race, just different colors from the melanin that we have in our skin. Okay, so Ben Shapiro, please don't be doing these seriously negative allegations about black people or any other race unless you're going to do something to help them improve or offer suggestions. You have a lot of complaints and you complain a lot about other people and other communities. I don't understand what you're trying to achieve in doing that. And what you want to do is you want to help improve other people's lives. That would be a good thing to do. Help improve other people's lives, encourage and motivate, make people happy, give good energy, support people. But you don't do that. What you want to do is talk about what's bad about something. You want to be right. It doesn't matter, like I said, it doesn't matter who's right. Who cares if you're right? If you're right, you only feel good, but the other person doesn't feel good. So you have to meet in the middle. So when you have a conversation or dialogue, the goal is to have a mutual understanding, not to be right or wrong. And it doesn't matter if you're smart. Smart people don't change the world. They don't. Okay? People that love other people and that are compassionate, empathy, kind, caring people like Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, those are the type of people that change the world. Okay? Caring people, compassionate people. And then this is the end of my video. Oh my god, it was so long. I apologize. But, I mean, I had to go through all of Ben Shapiro's allegations. I don't know why he did that. I don't understand. Why do you put down black people? Please, find something else to talk about. Those are all false, distorted, inaccurate allegations that Ben Shapiro made. And I tried my best to do a rebuttal of it. And I hope I did a good job. He has a right to his own opinion, and I don't believe I'm right, but I'm just giving my different rebuttal to his seriously outrageous allegation. And that's why I did the video, because I believe that, gosh, it was so outrageous what he said about black people. I needed to give a rebuttal and a comment back to him. Okay, so thank you. Be kind to each other and take care.